My mother-in-law has been using my husband and me as a meal ticket. She even publicly humiliated me. So, my husband and I cut her off. My mother-in-law, Sharon, has never liked me. I have no idea why. I guess nobody is really good enough for her darling son, and she did not like the fact that, despite her clear disapproval of me, my husband still chose to be with me. Initially, my husband and I really tried to get her to like me, but she was always too high and mighty to care. She treated me like dirt, and most of the time, when I would visit, she would pretend like I was not even there. Other times, she would act like I was completely unwanted. The only reason my husband and I visited her before we got married was because my father-in-law was very sick. He was a good man, so we tried to spend time with him as much as we could before he passed away. Unfortunately, my husband lost his father, and after his passing, we significantly reduced our visits to Sharon. It had been made very clear to us that she didn't approve of our relationship. Even on the day of our marriage, all she did was sulk about it. Since she didn't like me, we decided to stay away from her. My husband still stayed in touch with his mother but did not visit as much as he used to. The reason he stayed in contact was that his father had left everything to him, except for the house, which he left to Sharon. My husband had to fund his mother's expenses because she had been a stay-at-home mother for the majority of her life. Since she never worked, she had no money of her own and was completely reliant on my father-in-law. After his passing, she now had to rely on my husband to maintain her lifestyle. However, my husband did not want her to know that his father had left no money for her. To spare her feelings, he told her that his father had left instructions for all the money to be directed to his son on the condition that he would take care of his mother. In reality, no such condition existed. Before anyone asks, we don't really know why my father-in-law did not leave any money to his wife. From what we knew, they tolerated each other when they were together. I wouldn't call it a happy marriage, especially from what I saw, but they stayed together. There was no apparent reason for him not to leave anything to her, apart from the house. After my father-in-law passed away, my husband continued taking care of his mother. Despite the strained relationship, he didn't feel comfortable cutting her off entirely. Although we reduced our visits, he still supported her financially. I felt that this alone should have made her feel a bit grateful towards her son. Unfortunately, I don't think it had that effect. One day, my husband was on a business trip when I suddenly received an invitation to Sharon's birthday party. This was surprising because I had never received an invitation to any of her events before. It was always sent to my husband with a note that he could bring a +1, making it clear that she didn't acknowledge my status as his wife. However, this time, the invitation was addressed to me in particular. Confused, I spoke to my husband about it. He told me that he had received an invitation much earlier and that his mother was likely inviting me as an afterthought. He had already informed her that he couldn't attend due to his work trip but told me I was free to go if I wanted. Before making a decision, he suggested that I call Sharon to find out what was going on. Following his advice, I called Sharon and asked her about the invitation. She told me that she was inviting me to make amends. She admitted that she hadn't treated me well in the past and wanted to fix things. She claimed she realized that my husband and I were in it for the long run and that if he truly loved me, she wanted to respect that and give me a real chance. I was skeptical, but on the phone, she sounded remorseful. She said she had spoken to some of her friends and realized that she needed to step up as a mother and mother-in-law. Her birthday party was supposed to be an opportunity for us to bond. Even though I had every reason to decline, I decided to attend, thinking she was being genuine. It was a terrible decision that I regret now. The next evening, I got dressed and went to the party. I expected to be greeted personally by Sharon, but instead, she had hired a doorman. To my surprise, when he checked the guest list, he told me that my name was not on it. Confused, I opened the invitation on my phone and showed it to him, but he told me that what I had received was not even an actual invitation. He said someone must have tricked me. That should have been my sign to leave, but I still wanted to give Sharon a chance. I called her and explained what was happening. A few minutes later, she came out with a group of her friends. I thought she would clarify the misunderstanding and invite me in. Instead, she began yelling at the security staff to throw me out and loudly claimed she didn't even know who I was. Her group of friends, who were standing behind her, were struggling to control their giggles, so I knew that this was pre-planned. But Sharon took her role very seriously and started shouting about how she did not want any gatecrashers at her exclusive party. She said it was only meant for her close family and friends, and since I was literally nobody, she made a couple of really hurtful comments about how she couldn't just allow any sort of filth to enter her house. I walked back to my car in tears before the security staff had to intervene. I didn't even say anything that day, mostly because I couldn't bring myself to do it since I was crying so hard. I drove a couple of miles away from the house before completely breaking down inside my car and calling my husband to tell him what had just happened. He heard me out patiently and consoled me, even promising me that he would cut his business trip short to come back home earlier than he planned so he could be there for me, because this had obviously been a very humiliating experience for me. I could tell that he was very upset with Sharon, but he did not let his anger come through while talking to me and just focused entirely on comforting me. I had no idea what was about to happen the next day. I came back home that day and blocked Sharon everywhere that I could possibly think of. I promised myself that I would never, ever speak to her again or even give her a chance to speak to me. The first thing I did the next day was speak to my husband on the phone, and he told me that he was coming back the day after. But while I was on the phone, somebody showed up outside my door, and they were shrieking their heads off. When I went to check, I was really not surprised to find Sharon out there, because I had expected her to show up at some point. But I did not know what she was screaming about until I heard her out, and I realized that she was telling me that she was going to take us both to court and make sure that we paid up. I had no idea what she was talking about, but luckily my husband was on the phone. When I asked him, he told me that the night before, he had sent a message to her. In the message, he told his mother that he was going to cut off her funds now because if she couldn't respect him or his wife, she had no business taking money from us. He told her the truth, her husband had not left her anything, and all the money that my father-in-law had went to him. I guess she hadn't yet put two and two together and still thought that her husband had left instructions for her son to take care of her for the rest of her life. That's why she showed up at my door screaming about how she was going to take us both to court and make sure she got the money she was owed. After speaking to my husband, he told me to just call the cops, and that's what I did. I called the cops and had her escorted off the property, but did not press charges against her. I was very pleased with the situation because the way she had treated me was unacceptable, and I was glad that she was getting her karma for it. She had humiliated me, and now she was going to have to look out for herself because, as far as I knew, she did not have any money and had been expecting her husband to leave her something. At the time, I didn't think there was anything wrong with what we were doing, and even when my husband returned, we were fine with our decision to cut off her funds and make sure she stayed out of our lives. But then, 2 days later, she sent us both an email saying that she was really sorry for what she had done but that she needed our help to survive because she literally did not have anything. She was counting on the kindness of her children, referring to both my husband and me. I could tell that she was trying to butter us up, and it didn't seem very sincere, but now that I think about it, there is nobody to take care of her unless we do. Yet, I don't really feel like telling my husband to get back in touch with her or anything. We haven't even spoken about it yet, so I don't know what he feels. But I've been having a lot of mixed emotions on this topic. Either way, I wanted my husband to cut off my mother-in-law's funds after she insulted me. Hi, so first things first, I have received a lot of comments calling me stupid and stuff for wanting to give my mother-in-law a chance. I would just like to defend myself and say that I genuinely and truly wanted to believe that maybe she was sincere about wanting to make amends with me. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has an ego, and she is definitely not the first mother-in-law in the world to treat her daughter-in-law badly. But I've heard of people who have corrected their behavior, and I thought that it would be the right thing to give her one chance, at the very least, which is why I went to her party. I do regret it now, but I don't think that I did anything wrong. I was the victim in the situation, not the perpetrator, so I don't think it's fair to hate on me for being somebody who likes to give second chances. That's just who I am as a person, and I'm not stupid or gullible. I'm just a normal human being. Besides, I'd spoken to her on the phone before attending the party, and she had sounded very sincere. So the act that she had put on was so good that I literally felt like I did not have any reason to doubt her intentions. I feel like we have to give her some credit as well, since she manipulated me quite well. Me attending her party and wanting to give her a second chance shows the kind of person I am, and her taking advantage of my decision and humiliating me shows the kind of person she is. That's the end of it. Anyway, I don't want to talk more about that. I just wanted to defend myself before more people started sending me hate. I have discussed it with my husband, and while both of us regret whatever happened at the party, we are just glad that it brought out her true colors, and we know what kind of person she is now. Not that there was any doubt about it earlier, she was still terrible, but now it's just more obvious. We also spoke about the email that she had sent both of us and realized that both of us had been feeling equally guilty after it. But after talking it through, we realized that the only reason she was reaching out to us was not because she was sorry, but because she needed money to maintain the kind of lifestyle that she had so far, so she could pretend that we were her children. All that she wanted was for us to give her money, but the truth of the situation was that she did not have anyone else to count on, and we were basically just her meal ticket. We pretty much stopped feeling guilty after we realized that even though she did not have any money that had been left to her by my father-in-law, she definitely had some money. We spoke to the lawyer who had been the executor of my father-in-law's will. While he did not tell us why exactly no amount of money had been left to my mother-in-law, he did tell us that she did have a certain amount of money in her bank account that her husband had transferred to her before he passed away. And if she was really struggling, she had a bunch of really valuable stuff that she had purchased, and she could always just sell it. Worst comes to worst, she could approach her family for money and ask them to take care of her. The bottom line was it was not necessary for us to keep funding her, even after she was so disrespectful towards us, because it wasn't like she couldn't survive without us. She just didn't want to because she didn't want to spend her own money. That's how she had been her entire life. She wanted to portray herself as a helpless damsel in distress so that my husband and I would take pity on her and keep sending her money, even if she continued to treat us like crap. For a while, she had us fooled and had completely manipulated us into feeling guilty for her, but we were not going to allow her to manipulate us again. She is a bit of a master when it comes to that, but we are also aware of her tricks, and now it's going to be very difficult to fool us. It has been 1 week since she sent us that email, and we haven't responded to her yet. Neither are we going to. We are going to continue to ignore her because we don't want anything to do with her. If she stops living such an extravagant lifestyle and living beyond her means, she is going to be able to make it work with whatever money she has right now. We are not going to take pity on her and help her out anymore because she had lied to us about being helpless in the first place. Honestly, I just feel relieved that I don't have to deal with her anymore because it had been very difficult for me to maintain the balance between hating her and still somehow dealing with the fact that she was going to be a part of my life through my husband. But now that he is done with her, I'm feeling a lot better about things. He was never a mama's boy to begin with, let me just make that clear, but like any other son, he wanted to be able to take care of his parents, and that's why he had stayed in touch with her. Unfortunately, it's very obvious now that Sharon does not deserve it. She could have had a very easy life if she just tried to play nice with me, but what can I say? Some people are just not clever enough and let their egos get in the way of what's good for them. Update 1. Hi, so it has been 2 weeks since Sharon sent us both that email, and after that, she did not contact us for a really long time. Yesterday, though, while my husband and I were having dinner, she showed up at our house once again. I was about to call the cops again, but this time, she was not yelling at us. Instead, after ringing the doorbell and making herself known, she just started crying at our doorstep. At that point, Both my husband and I were really confused about what to do because this could be another one of her tricks to manipulate us into feeling bad for her and guilt-tripping us into continuing to support her. But on the other hand, she was sobbing on our doorstep, and I think anyone in our place would have felt just as bad. So, after a brief discussion with each other, my husband and I decided that we were not going to open the door, but we were going to try and be gentle with her because calling the cops on her while she was in this state would not be a good move. We spoke to her through the intercom and told her that we were willing to give her some time to pull herself together and leave, but if she did not take that opportunity, we would be forced to call the cops, and we really didn't want to do that a second time. So now it was up to her what she wanted. She replied saying that she did not want any money from us, she just wanted to say that she was really sorry. She knew that this apology was coming a little too late, but now that she did not have anybody, she had realized how important it was for her to have her family around her, and she could no longer fill that void in her life with extravagant parties and time with her friends. Even her friends had families of their own who loved them and spent time with them. So, even if we did not want to send her money, the least we could do was at least visit her sometimes because she really missed us, and mostly her son. We did not know what to say, so we just stayed quiet, and she continued to talk. After we did not respond, she said that she was also apologetic for the fact that she hadn't been completely honest with us. She hadn't told us that her husband had indeed given her some money before he passed away, but to be fair, we haven't been entirely honest with her either. She brought up the fact that just to spare her feelings, her son hadn't told her that her husband had left her absolutely no amount of money, and in a way, it was fair. But she felt like both of them had lied to each other and let each other down, and that needed to stop. If we were going to be a healthy and happy family, she wanted to be truthful with both of us and said that the reason she did that awful thing on the day of her birthday to me was that all her life, she had believed that no woman would ever be good enough for her son. She hadn't approved of me because I was too outspoken, too bold, and too ambitious, which I guess is true, but I really don't understand how that was supposed to be a problem in our marriage. But anyway, that's the reason why Sharon had never approved of me, and when she realized that her approval did not mean anything anymore, since my husband was head over heels for me, that made her resent me even more. She said that she had had to sacrifice a lot when she was married to her husband, and they were never in a happy marriage, but she was content with him, and somewhere or the other, deep down, she had started imposing the same burden of expectations onto me. When I did not try to live up to those expectations, she started hating me. She hated the fact that her son loved me so much, which meant that she had serious issues. But she was willing to work through them so she could maintain a relationship with us because she did not want to lose the only family she had. I thought that was pretty raw and real of her, but we are still wary of her. So after some silence, I told her that we would think about what we wanted to do, but for now, we just wanted some peace and quiet to mull this over. After that, she left, and before leaving, she apologized to us for one last time. Right now, both my husband and I are very confused and have no idea what to do, so we are here. Any sort of advice on what to do will be really appreciated because we are completely lost. We really don't want to get manipulated into anything again, but we also don't want to be heartless. Honestly, neither of us has any clue what to believe anymore, and I guess out of all the things that she said, she was definitely right about the fact that my husband's family had to stop lying to each other and keeping secrets. Update 2. It's very ironic that in my last update, I had said that my husband's family needed to stop keeping secrets from each other, and in this update, I'm still going to be standing by that statement because what we have uncovered is so serious. So apparently, the reason my father-in-law's lawyer had been refusing to tell us the reason why my father-in-law had not left Sharon any money was because he had been given explicit instructions not to tell us the truth. However, that was not really official or formal, it had just come from my father-in-law as a friend. So since there was no binding document, he was free to tell us the truth, and since we kept pestering him, he was forced to. I don't know why, but I just had a gut feeling that getting to know the truth about this situation would unravel a lot of things, and I was right. Apparently, the money that Sharon supposedly had was not something that her husband had left her, but it was her affair partner. She had been having an affair with one of her friends from college who used to be smitten with her back then and still was. Sharon had never spoken about it while the guy she was having the affair with was still alive, but 3 years ago, around the time that my husband and I had started dating, she lost him to a heart attack. He did not have any family of his own, so he had left everything to her. My father-in-law found out about it much later when Sharon finally told him the truth a couple of months before he passed away. At that point in time, there was not much that he could do, and he knew that he was dying, so filing for a divorce would be pointless. So he decided the only way he could get back at her for this was not to leave anything to her apart from the house and leave all his assets to his son instead. He left the house to her on purpose so she wouldn't suspect anything and wouldn't try to contest the will after he was gone. We also found out that whatever Sharon had said to us about having to sacrifice a lot while she was married to her husband had also been a load of BS. My father-in-law had given her the option to work after she got married and gave birth to my husband, but she was the one who said that she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. The only thing she had sacrificed in her entire life was dignity because, throughout her life, she always got somebody else to carry her weight. Anyway, now that we know the truth, we also know that she was putting on an act the day that she came to our house to tell us that she really missed us. I'm glad that we did not bother to reach out to her after that because that would mean that we got manipulated once again, and we would feel pretty stupid if that happened. She's a liar, a cheater, and an overall terrible human being, and the farther we stay away from her, the better it is for us. Update 3. So Sharon tried to contact us again, even though it has been 1 month since we last spoke. I guess it has to do something with the fact that I recently announced my pregnancy on social media, but she pretended not to know about it. In her email, she said that she was really looking forward to hearing from us because she thought that it had been enough time since we last spoke, and by now, we should have been able to come to a decision about what we wanted for the future. She was right, it didn't really take us long to come to a decision about what we wanted, and what we wanted was for her to stay away. So, we sent her a message telling her that we knew everything about her affair and stuff, and we did not want anything to do with her anymore. We told her that if she was all on her own right now, it was because she deserved it. She had never valued anybody in her life, and the only person that she genuinely cared about was herself. So, she should be grateful that right now, she gets to spend time with the only person she loves, herself. If she runs short on money, she can always find another man to have an affair with and rely on him instead, but for now, her son is done with her. It was a really harsh message, but it had to be said because she has bothered us enough, and now that we are embarking on a new chapter of our life, we need our peace, and we need her to stay the heck away from us. I'm pretty sure that this message is not going to deter her, and she's definitely going to try again in a couple of months when I'm in the later stages of my pregnancy. But my husband and I have already spoken about that possibility and decided that if she bothers us anymore, we are going to just file a restraining order against her and hope for the best. We are also planning on moving out of this house into a new one, and we're going to make sure that nobody gives out the address to her because with a baby on the way, we need a bigger space anyway. I'm just looking forward to being a mother, and I can't wait to start fresh.
Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.